Okay, I have to stop it so I don't get arrested. It is the 16th of May. And all kinds of things going on in the world. The one thing that I want to be sure and document is the passing of Glenn Branca, the New York musician. I don't have any of his records to show you. I did buy the Theoretical Girls 45 when it first came out. He was very brave and bold in his ideas with guitars and his guitar orchestras and his massive walls of sound and intensity that his pieces would conjure up. Rest in peace, Glenn Branca. Another important figure for me personally was the author Tom Wolfe, writer of The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test and other books. That was an important book to me as a teenager, as well as, I forget the other book of his I read. They were important. You know, it was important for me to try to connect with that mindset, what was going on. So I want to say those things. I'm going to talk about a little bit of music, and then I'm going to get out of here because I have a friend. People are here being very kind. I'm stuck at home right now. I still don't have a plan for a car, but people are being very kind, and so I have someone stopping by in a minute to take me to breakfast. You get what you give, people. You do. You do. You do. It doesn't always work out perfectly, but you receive what you put out. And when something negative happens, pay attention. It's like it's a lesson. Even when good things happen, there's something to be learned, okay? Here's something. Sunburned Hand of the Man. This illustration on the cover is by Raymond Pettibon. Raymond Pettibon is the guy who did most of the covers for the Black Flag albums and a lot of SST record releases. That's also Greg Ginn's brother. Greg Ginn, the leader of Black Flag, the guitar player, who I played shows with. Greg is a cool guy. I got along with him. We got along great. My Greg Ginn stories are good. This is good. They get called psychedelic. There's just a real organic way the way they do music. It's not, boy, do I like stuff like this. It's not following any preconceived notion about what the music should do. As a result, it's always evolving into something next and interesting. I really like stuff like this. Got a bunch of records here. I'll just show them until either my ride shows up or until I'm ready to stop. Bob Marley. Yesterday was election day. I didn't have a car. It was primaries. One of the few times I didn't vote. I always vote, though, okay? Even though the system is broken, it's, we got to do what we can do, I have a lot of young friends, the age of my children and younger, who are really excited about voting. I'm not. I'm see that nothing changes. It changes very slowly. I'd like to see some of these new, in particular female politicians, shake shit up. I don't think they can. I think you new politicians are going to find out that it's an old insiders deal where only thing that's being talked about behind the doors is money. With that in mind, I listened to some Bob Marley because Bob Marley, I listened to his music and his lyrics, so he let me know I'm not insane. Rastaman Vibration. When I played reggae, we played half of this album. I know these songs by heart. Bob Marley was amazing. Here's another album. Someone had mentioned that In a Silent Way. I played that recently. I love that album, but I don't know if it's still sitting out. But this I played last night, Sketches of Spain. And this is an original 6i pressing. Bought this from a jazz collector back in the 70s. It's in really good shape. Miles Davis with Gil Evans. He made this one shortly after Kind of Blue, if I understand the chronology right. This is just a really... Miles Davis, at that time, well, most of his career, he was onto something. He was like a talisman. Energy and ideas and directions flowed through him. This is an amazingly wonderful album, Sketches of Spain. Highly recommended. Here's one I hadn't played in a long time. When Factory Records first happened with Joy Division and all those bands, I really got into it. And the music that I like of Factory Records that I liked then holds up today. And here's an example. The band Section 25, Always Now, came out in 1981. This is one of those examples of Factory Records sparing no expense on the packaging, which almost ruined them. You know, this printing on the inside, all of this, which you can look up online, the processes weren't cheap. This album is very simplistic, very simple and beautiful. It's almost perfectly simple. Bass, drums, and just a whisper of a guitar. The singer cannot sing. He can't hold a tune. It's beautiful. This just works. For me, this is just one of those amazing pieces of art. Section 25, Always Now. Yeah, it sounds like the people just learned how to play the instruments that morning, but they were so inspired. It's fantastic. When I started the video, I was listening to some Opeth. I get into a jag with Opeth. I think of Roger Coleman sometimes when I'm listening to Opeth too, because he's a fan too, and he gave me a nice gift. But I was listening to this one because this was one I hadn't really gotten into. Your Arms, My Hearse, but it happened this last couple of days. Actually, I've played this all the way through several times now. I just love Michael Ackerfeldt's journey of discovery with the guitar. That's a lot of what's going on with these albums, is him discovering things and refining them. There's ideas on here that crop up again in later albums and other songs where he uses the riff more effectively. But this is a good one. Your Arms, My Hearse. Also played Deliverance. This one I just love. That's the one I was playing. I get them mixed up. There's Damnation and Deliverance. For Absent Friends was what I was playing. I love this band. The growly vocals too. Here's another one I pulled that I hadn't played in a while. Just decided to play it. I love this album. Grizzly Bear, Vicatimist. I think this is their best. The one that came after, this is the one. Grizzly Bear. This is a special album. We're getting old, people. Yesterday was Brian Eno's 70th birthday. I played a bunch of Eno yesterday. And just, he's a big influence in a lot of ways, He's just a brilliant, he's brilliant, but he's also a cut-up and clever man. But the way he approached his job in Roxy Music and what he did afterwards has really been influential in a real good way on music. So I listened to Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy. I learned that the UK version or some import version of this album, the groove is locked at the end of side one. This is the American, and it fades out and doesn't lock. Roxy Music for Your Pleasure. Love this album. Played it all the way through yesterday. And yes, Eno's subtle contribution made all the difference. All the difference. With Rick Holland, Panic of Looking, Brian Eno, the one he put out a few years ago with his words. This is really good. Real good. And this one generated a lot of discussion online yesterday in groups where I posted it. Eno's first solo album. Here Come the Warm Jets. I knew that a lot of people didn't notice the playing card on the front. Some did. There's a right in front of you, there's a lady pissing, squatting and pissing, and the man's holding her dress up. It's one of those old pornographic playing cards. Brian Eno got away with this, and it's being referred to in the title. Here Come the Warm Jets. I noticed it right away as a horny kid when it came out myself. Interestingly, I did find out through the discussion yesterday, I didn't know this, that in some countries or certain reissues of this album, the card was banned. It was covered. I had never seen those copies. Only this is an original American, which I've had forever. Great album. Baby's on Fire. That's all I got to tell you. Okay, Baby's on Fire. Baby's on Fire. Carla Bley recently had a birthday. She was married to this man, Paul Bley. This is Paul Bley's album, Closer. The iconic tune, I don't know if I have the right word, but Ida Lupino is the lead track off of this, written by Carla Bley. Immediately recognizable melody, just fantastic. The whole album, and Paul Bley's approach to piano and improvisation, one of a kind, one of my favorites on ESP. Fantastic album. Here's that other Opeth album, Deliverance, that I was playing. Really beautiful, mostly a lot acoustic and quiet on this one, Damnation. And this one's sitting out, well, this is one of my favorite albums, Blackwater Park. I love this. Sensations Fix, the Italian Pink Floyd. That's what they were called for a while, back in the 70s. This is their first proper album, Portable Madness. It's fantastic. Space rock. This is space rock. Fantastic. Hadn't played this forever. Finny Tribe. I forget there's some... Oh, I forget who's in the band. But it was kind of a jungle rhythmic thing that they were doing. Back in the 80s, was it? Chris Keneally, that's the name I'm looking at. And there's some other people here involved from other bands. But this is a 12-inch single. I hadn't played it for a while. And besides it sounding dated, it still has that energy that gets me going. Yes, I played this again. The Salon Kingsador. This is really good. If you happen to catch this, Gianmarco, this is real good. Salon Kingsador. Yeah. Better with each play. And I got into some Aphex Twin. I love Richard James. Some of the stuff I think is just like he's just jacking around, which he probably is. But to be able to jack around on that level of finesse, and this one too, Aphex Twin, fan-freaking-tastic. Love it, love it, love it. Played this again, The Monkees, Good Times. This is great stuff, great stuff. Let me share this and I'll stop. Recently, when I did a trade, I don't know if I shared this. When I did some trading recently, I went ahead and picked this up because this was the first album that I actually bought with my own money on my birthday of that year. The Dave Clark 5 Return. This is significant because this was back when Beatlemania was happening. We were into the Beatles, I think it was 1964. My older sister, I'll remember this, it was my birthday, and we were, I could only get one record a year, basically, from my parents. We were so poor. So my dad was going to take me to the record store and buy an album. And I was, Stephanie, do you remember this? You pressured me. I remember. You pressured me to buy a Beatles, And that was partially because of that I bought this, because it's like, well, it's my birthday. I'm into the Beatles. I love the Beatles, but it's my birthday. Do you remember that, Stephanie? I will never forget that. So I bought this. The Dave Clark 5 Return. So I just recently found this pristine condition. My copy's been gone forever because it was a childhood gift. So I played the hell out of it. Probably flew it as a frisbee or something eventually. But the other significant thing about this album for me was me and my dad bonded with it. He didn't like the Beatles at first. He came around when Yesterday came out. But because they had a sax player in this band, my dad played all the instruments, but primarily saxophone at the time. And the sax player in this band could growl, okay? So that impressed my dad. He said, oh, well, if he can growl, then he does have some technique. So I recently got another copy of this for the first time since I was a child. Kind of cool. Glad I could share that with you. Yeah, I'm watching all this madness. with Israel and the Middle East, and that's wrong. That's wrong. Killing those people, killing those children. We're wrong. It's wrong. Victimizing the people of Palestine. This whole bullshit with gifting Israel a country. We had no business doing that. That's just my opinion. You right-wingers, don't lose your minds. Anyway, I think my ride is here. Talk to you.